Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you quit that JOB, that just over broke job, by investing in real estate and every other way to make money so you never have to work a job again. Today, I'm amazingly pumped to bring on this fantastic expert in finance and stocks, but not just that. So back in 2017, I got to tell you this. He was literally the first person when I started Master Passive Income, first person ever that I met at a conference. And I wasn't even really taking this Master Passive Income business seriously. I wasn't doing anything. But then I met this man at a conference, sat next to him. He said, "Hey, what's up, man? You do real estate, I do finance and stocks. You got to meet my boy Tom." And we just friendships start there. And that's where everything started. So I owe so much credit to this guy, and I'm blessed to have him on. He wrote an amazing book called 5 Year Millionaire, has a fantastic podcast. You need to check out the Brown Report too. He is fantastic at stocks and also mindset and finance. Really, really great friend of mine. He's coming to speak at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. If you can get in this guy's, world or be in around him, you need to. Good friend of mine, Jason Brown. Jason, thank you so much for being here, man.
My good man, Dustin, man. It's exciting to be here. And it is funny to hear you talk about the first time we met because, yeah, I introduced you to Tom and the whole crew and kind of took you by the hand and was like, let's roll. And we've been fast friends ever since. And then to see you and those guys form different business ventures and stuff from that introduction is just super cool.
Well, it's amazing too because you have more of an abundance mindset, or you're always, and I had to have learned lots of it from you. You're always trying to help people. Like everybody that you meet, you're like, how can I help this person? How can I serve this person? And that just helps me so much because now that's all I want to do. I want to help people because I found the more people that I help, the better my life gets, the better everybody's life gets. Now, Jay, well, we can get into more of that, but I want to quickly jump into. You wrote a fantastic book, 5 Year Millionaire. Man, I mean, everybody wants to be a millionaire, but in 5 years. So, okay, pull up. So, if you, I need you to watch this on YouTube. He's got a book. Jason, hold up the book. I want everybody to see the book, 5 Year Millionaire. There we go. What's up?
There it is.
Okay, so what made you want to write a book, The 5 Year Millionaire?
Man, the book piece, I, I think if I look back on everything that I've done so far, I have a podcast, a 5 Year Millionaire podcast, I have a YouTube channel. That's really originally how I started with the Brown Report, just reporting on how I was making money from the stock market and how other people could do the same. Had a blog, but all those things were cool, and I still love doing those things. But one of the things that happened is one of my good friends, I'm in EO Entrepreneurs Organization, and my good friend Joe, he has like a $5 to $10 million business. And I'll never forget, he said, I like what you're doing, but I'd feel better if you had a book. And some people, you know how in life some people could get defensive, like, what do you mean? I'm making money, I got a good business. What do you mean? You'd like it if I had a book? But I didn't get defensive. I actually heard what he said, and what registered for me was if I want to reach that caliber of person, he'd feel better if I had a book. And it's funny now, he doesn't even remember saying that to me. And I said, that's why it was so important because that was your natural reaction and natural response. And that was what you was authentically thinking without a filter. And so I said, I want to write a book. And not just to reach people like that, but I thought, how many people am I not reaching who need a different format, like a book, like a podcast, like a YouTube channel? And so I wanted to bring my words, my life experience, and my education to a different format, like a book. Then I started to think more about like it's not just a book; it's also a legacy piece. It's a blueprint, a roadmap for my kids. Say, where did our family tree change? How did our finances change? They would have dad's story in print. Also looked at it like a college degree. Once you get it, they can't take it back from you. Same thing with publishing a book. I can't become an unpublished author. Like I'll forever be a published author. So I started thinking about all the other positive effects from writing a book. And I said, I got to do it. I got to do it.
Well, you have so much to share, and like mindset, you're really, really good at mindset, but you're also great at tactics, like with stocks. So you and we basically teach people how to make money. That's really boil everything down. How do you make money? I love real estate. I am horrible at stocks. Well, let me say it this way. I'm very good at buying high and selling low. every single time. I'm so good at it. In fact, when I think I would normally do this, so let me do the opposite, it's still the wrong, the wrong choice. It's just the way it works. It's just very bad. But with real estate, totally different. Like I understand it better. Stocks, you are phenomenal with that. But at the same time, you also know that you have to get past your mindset. Like you have to get past yourself that's stopping you from this. But before we get there, I remember, so I was talking to Tom, and Tom Sylvester, a good friend of mine, obviously been on the show a number of times, speaks at Rubicon, like really like, amazing guy. Like I'm so blessed that you connected me with Tom, and also I'm connected with you. It's just, it's amazing when you know, have an abundance mindset. But Tom would tell me, man, you know, Jason, where he's at now, you have like, do you have a Ferrari? Is that what it was? Or Rolls Royce?
I, s- I sold the Ferrari. I got a Rolls Royce.
There we go. I remember. Okay, good. You had a Ferrari, sold that, got a Rolls Royce. But I mean, you're such an awesome guy. Even though you have those things, that's not what defines you. I remember Tom telling me a story. He said, "Hey, I saw a video of Jason just either quit his job or got fired, something like that. But he was in his like closet or something, recording a video saying, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get the stocks, I'm gonna make it work. Do you remember that video that you created saying, like, this is the starting point, and now I'm moving forward?
Yeah, I only share that video in very private
Oh, maybe I shouldn't have brought it up. You want me to
scenario.
cut it out?
No, no, no. It's fine. I'm actually starting to share it a little bit more, but like I shared it at my book signing event because people sometimes I think see you and they think, "Oh, good for him. He drives a Rolls Royce, so he's making all this money." And they don't really see when I was flat broke, moved back home to my mom's house with bars on the window, drugs in the neighborhood, people stealing our cars, and fortunate for me, I just always recorded and documented myself before YouTube was even popular or a thing. I just always recorded that stuff and I never posted it online. It was just for me personally to remember those
Like a
low
video
points in
journal.
life and also, yeah, yeah. And also to remember I won't be here forever. And when times get hard, I could look back on it like I thought that was the hardest time of my life, but I got through it. So it reminds me like whatever I'm going through now, I have the strength to get through it. I know. Yeah, in certain private circles, I'll share that video. But now I'm starting to share it more publicly because I just think it helps people to really see the like you could tell the backstory, but then when I show the video, they're like, oh no, he really did do that. He sold all his stuff. He was flat broke. He moved into that little bitty room that's about the size of a closet. And yeah, it's just I don't know. Sometimes I get emotional just thinking about it 'cause I'm like, that was a tough time for me. Other
How long
people
ago
look
was
at it
that?
in the basement. Whew, that was I don't know, probably 15 years ago. Something like that. It was a while
15
back.
years ago. And I've seen your stuff. I mean, I remember, I think there was either $100,000 trade or something like that. You posted a video, it was a little bit ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. You did $100,000 trade. I mean, you're doing really well financially, but like it didn't start there. You started from scratch and then built your way up.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know the story, I ended up taking $2,000 at 18, my graduation money to a bank because I'm like, I want to be rich. We lived in the poor neighborhood. I hear people make money from the stock market. And I put it in an account. I basically came back 2, 3 years later. I thought I was gonna have $6,000 and be on my way to becoming a millionaire, and they lost $1,300 of my money. And when they lost that money, I said I could have lost my own money. I'm gonna take the other 700, invest it myself. Spent $200 on some gym shoes. I took the 500 bucks, and all I wanted to make was $50. And I got really good at growing that 500 bucks. And I was like, how can I get more money into the stock market? So I had a scholarship to the Mike Ehler School of Business here at Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan. I applied for financial aid because I knew they would double pay the account and I would get the $10,000 refund. And then I invested in the stock market because I felt like I was just doing the same thing I was doing with the $500, except I had 10,000 now and I could have a bigger impact. But what most people don't know is I ended up growing that to $113,000. I dropped out of
$500?
school. No, no,
$500
the
to 100,
10,000, the 10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
Got it.
So the 500 gave me the courage to take the $10,000 student loan and invest it. I ended up growing the $10,000 student loan to over six figures as a 21-year-old college student. I drop out of school. I'm making $100,000 a year in the stock market. Year three, I risk $250,000 trying to make $500,000 because I was actually going to buy a real estate piece. I was going to buy a condo downtown Royal Oak cash. and I lost all my money. And so that was the beginning of the real journey of me becoming who I am, because I didn't just rise to who I am now. I lost everything, had to move back home to that room, bars on the window, drugs in the neighborhood. And that's when I started documenting how am I going to make this money back. That's what made me start the Brown Report, the YouTube channel. I was just recording, making the money back. And then eventually I created a vision board. And from that vision board that I created, 5 years later, I actually ended up, making $1 million. I became a millionaire in about 5 years. And so that's what kind of led to the book 5 Year Millionaire, is how regular people can start with nothing. But if they got the right knowledge and a little bit of cash, when I say a little bit, I'm talking $4,000 or less, they could become a millionaire within 5 years. I can't guarantee that. I'm saying it's just my journey of how I did it. And then there's a blueprint, a roadmap, and a mathematical equation how you can do something similar. I say similar because it's different. The market is different now. It's always different and changing, but you can get started on your own version of becoming a 5 year millionaire.
You know what? A lot of people think, man, if I only had this, if I only had what Jason had when he first got started, or if I only had what Dustin had when he first got started, they always have these if, like, if this would have happened, then I would be. I personally think that every single person listen to this, or in general, every single person has some sort of strategic advantage over somebody else. I think everybody has something. We just got to, like you and I, we coached lots and lots of people. I know you've coached thousands of people. I've coached thousands of people. And what we do is we help them realize all the different options out there, meaning ways to do certain things that they would not normally think of themselves because we've already done it and we've had the school of hard knocks getting through that. And you hit the nail on the head that you also, you took that $10,000, built it up, and then you also had to make sure you do it all over again, building it back up again. And what made you push through? Like, because a lot of people would give up and just say, let me just go back to work because you had a decent job, when you were doing this. But like, what made you push through? And maybe that can give somebody some incentives. And then we want to talk about, like, how do we do that in stocks? Like, how do we make sure we start growing our wealth as well?
Yeah, well, you said something that I think is interesting. I want to go back to. You said everyone has a strategic advantage. But what's powerful about that is all the stuff that I thought worked against me actually was my strategic advantage. So being broke and growing up poor with bars on the window, drugs in the neighborhood, gangs, I was uncomfortable with that. So because I was uncomfortable, that was my advantage. I was looking for a way out. I couldn't sing, I couldn't rap, I couldn't act. I didn't play basketball, so I wasn't going to the NBA. I didn't play football, so that wasn't like I'm going to make it out by playing ball. So that was my strategic advantage, that I couldn't rap, I couldn't sing, I couldn't play ball, because then I might have bought into that dream, which that's okay for some kids. You could become the next LeBron or whoever. But for me, that was actually an advantage that I couldn't play basketball, an advantage that we were poor because it made me hungry. The second time when I grew that $100,000 to 300,000 and risked a quarter million, lost it all. At the time, it didn't seem like my strategic advantage. But that was my strategic advantage, losing it all, because then it said, do you really know what you were doing or were you just lucky? And I had to prove the second time that I actually knew what I was doing. And so that was my strategic advantage, even though at the time it didn't seem like it. And then documenting my story on YouTube, it didn't seem like a strategic advantage, but it turned out to be, because people started asking, like, how are you doing this? What? And then I ended up building a business around it. And so it's funny that everything that I thought was a negative ended up being a positive for me. And this is another thing I want to speak about. That I mean, I'm starting to share some personal stuff more often. Like, if you look back at my old YouTube videos, it never had my face on it because I didn't think people would want to hear from a young black guy about the stock market. So once again, what I thought was my disadvantage, I'm like, I'm young, I'm black, ain't nobody gonna want to hear what I'm talking about, even though I knew what I was talking about. Well, when I started showing my face on the videos, people was like, "Oh, and he young and he black. I'm definitely rocking with him." So what I thought was a negative ended up actually being a positive. Everybody was excited that I was young and black. So I just think that's funny how life works sometimes. The things that you think are working against you are actually working for you.
I love it. I love it. Now, how did you push through those hard times, because those hard times will come. Even you and I, in our position where we are now, there still will be hard times. And I think God puts us in a position where we grow and grow and grow. And what seems like a hard time now, in 10 years from now, like that was nothing compared to what we're going through now. Everybody has that. But like, what made you or helped you push you through this?
I would have to say the number one thing is mindset. And I want to give some color behind that because I know sometimes people, I know sometimes I'll be sitting at home and listen to an episode and I'm like, oh, he gonna say mindset. Like, okay, just go in the corner and meditate. Like, what did you actually do? But for me, it really was mindset. And I want to add some color to that. So I would read books like Think and Grow Rich, and they would talk about the crossroads that Henry Ford came across trying to build, a V8 engine. They would talk about the general who turned around and burned the boats and said the only way we're going back home is if we win this war because we was outnumbered. And so it was by working on my mindset, it's like going to the gym. When I came up against a tough time, I'm like, am I going to be like Henry Ford or am I going to be like everybody else who made an excuse? Am I going to be like the general who burned the boats? Or am I going am I going to be like everybody else or am I going to be like the general who burned the boats and find a way to win? And so I start listening to people like Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy. One of the questions he asked in one of his live seminars that I would listen to the audio of, he said, has there ever been anybody who started off poorer than you with less resources than you that made it to become successful? And I'm like, well, yeah. And he's like, then you have no excuse. And I'm like, that's true, right? Like, there's people who came to this country with nothing and found a way to learn, work, build a business, find success. So when hardship hit me, I just had to decide who was I going to be. But I had that muscle because I had been reading books, listening to tapes. And then there was another one. I'm not sure where I learned this one at, but it was called like the hero's journey. And it was like when you don't believe in yourself, pick a hero. And for me, that hero from a financial standpoint was Warren Buffett. I don't know how he is as a dad, as a Christian. I don't know about him in those categories, but as a investor, he was my hero. And so I said, what would Warren Buffett do? I'm sure Warren Buffett's lost $250,000 before. And I put this in the book. I said, if he quits, he becomes Warren Buffett. He never becomes a billionaire, the Oracle of Omaha. He never becomes the man of Berkshire Hathaway. I said, if I quit, I never become Jason Brown. And I don't know who Jason Brown is going to be, but I never get to find out if I quit. And so really, I just worked on my mindset. And then the other thing for me is I realized, I'm a common sense guy. I said, okay, well, other people breathe the same air. They bleed red blood. They're not better than me. They just know something I don't know. If I can learn what they know and apply the discipline, I can get my version of what they have. I can't get exactly what they have because they've been investing and doing stuff during different time frames. It's a different market now, but I can create my version of it. And so I'm not stupid. I'm like, I can learn. I got two ears. I can listen. I can read. I can study. And so it's just a matter of putting in the work so that I can create my version of success. And when you kind of got that mindset, there's nothing that can knock you down. You know it works. It's just how do I figure out how to make it work for me? And that was always the question, like, how do I figure out how to make it work for me? I know the stock market works. So how do I make it work for me? And that's
Now,
and that's what I mean by mindset. That's what really got
yeah.
me through.
So you got to make up your mind to do it. Because one thing that I always get people saying, well, Dustin, I don't have the time to do it. I'm like, everybody has 24 hours in the day. You got to make the time to do it. I know I had so much else going on, but I still made the time to do it because I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And so what I love, if I am thinking, man, I don't have any time, well, just sleep faster. That's all you got to do. Sleep faster. You'll be totally fine. Okay, well, let's jump into the 5-year millionaire. How does that work out? I mean, it seems like that is going to be, well, a lot of people right now, they want instant gratification. Oh, I shouldn't, let's do it in a year. But when you realize you're going to work 40 plus years of your life working for somebody else, maybe save up enough money that you might be a millionaire, but then you have to live on that for, 40% of what you save the rest of your life and hope you don't run out of money. But just imagine in 5 years, having $1 million or being a millionaire. So walk us through that process of that 5-year millionaire.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to touch on something you said, which is for people who say they don't have time. I mean, the two most powerful things that people claim that they don't have is time or money, right? What's funny is neither one of them is really required. What's required is knowledge. I remember when I read, and again, the mindset. I remember when I read Think and Grow Rich, not Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad Poor Dad. One of the specific lines in there, people haven't read it. I mean, I got to at least tell this portion of the book. He talked about how the two kids went to work for the dad who was an entrepreneur. And he said, "You can work for me, but I'm not going to pay you." And they're like, "Wait, what? You're not going to pay us?" He said, "By not paying you, you will see ways of making money that before would have gone unnoticed because you were just waiting on your paycheck." Well, that was so profound to me because by not having more than $500, when I saw that I had a scholarship and that financial aid would double pay the account, I would get the refund. I saw a way to make money. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it gave me the ability to be creative because of how I thought. I saw an opportunity and I seized it. So if you don't have money, it's all about being creative and thinking about how you can come up with it because you
Let
sell
me
your
let
stuff.
me add
Because
one thing to that too, because creative, you can only be creative with as limited of your knowledge that you have in your own head. You know, if you're not reading books, you're not listening to podcasts, you're not getting coaching, you're not being around mentors, or even just being around people that are doing it, you lack options, which means you lack the knowledge to find these options and then implementation. How do you get these options into your business model so that you could actually move forward? So that's one thing that I love with my students is, and you do the same thing. We just give them so many options to do something that they didn't even know was there. But I'm like, okay, here are the options for you now, like 15 different ways to do it. You just got to figure out what's best for you.
absolutely. And then I definitely want to hit on the time because I love giving people something tangible that I can take away with. So for me, when I didn't have time either. And so here's what I specifically did. I always packed a lunch and I used my lunch breaks to study for an hour. I either read a book, I looked at some type of stock market stuff. Even my people who follow me on LinkedIn and stuff to this day, they like, I remember back at Verizon, you was always in the lunchroom looking at stocks. It's like I had to use that hour differently. I didn't go for a smoke break. I didn't smoke, but I didn't go sleep, take a nap. I didn't spend 30 minutes standing in line at Panera Bread, come back and only have 15 minutes to eat. I packed a lunch. I'm like, I got to use this hour to study. Every time I got in the car, I would watch videos. I wouldn't watch them while I was driving, but even though I couldn't watch them, I would listen to them. So I would sit my laptop on the seat and I would just play videos about the stock market and stuff. And you think like, well, I can't watch it while I'm driving, but you'd be surprised what you pick up on just listening. So I would just listen to seminars and different stuff like that while I was driving. So those are just some tangible things I did to make time. And then what I also did was I carried a book with me everywhere I went. So anytime I had to stand in line at the bank, if I was getting food, I was knocking out a couple pages when I was standing in line. Now everybody pulls out their cell phone and starts scrolling, but I actually was pulling out a book and would get through a couple pages while I'm waiting to get to the front of the line, whether that was at Starbucks or for food or standing in line at the bank, whatever the case may be. And so I really use those micro moments to get ahead because that's the old saying, we all got 24 hours in a day. It's how you use the 24 hours. And so I was just taking advantage of those micro moments where most people would be like, I'm not going to finish a whole book while I'm standing here in line. I'm like, yeah, but if you knock out 2 pages while you stand and you go to eat lunch or to the bank every day because of your job 5 days a week, I'm like, that's 10 pages at the end of the week, 40 pages at the end of the month. It's a 200-page book. You done knocked out a book in, you know, 4 months, 4 or 5 months. Now it's two sets of those in a year. So you didn't cover
Well,
two
I mean,
books.
I'll give you even another one too. When you're an employee, you go to work and then you go home and watch TV. I mean, that's literally what you do. You watch so much TV. I get or social media now. I just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Guarantee you, people can not find the time, make the time. Because if you say I don't have the time, it's you don't make the time. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, you absolutely got to make the time. So talking about 5 year millionaire, how do you become a millionaire in the stock market in 5 years? So the whole premise of the 5 year millionaire plan is simple. If you have $4,000, if you can get started with $4,000 and learn how to make 10% a month for 5 years, basically you'd have $1.2 million at the end of 5 years or 60 trades, which comes out to one trade a month, making 10% a month. So that we find those trades and we send them out as a text alert, video alert, a write up for our members. And every trade is not a winner, but 7, 8 out of 10 are typically generating that 10% a month. And so when you think about it, it's just a mathematical equation. You know, you can't refute it. If you have $4,000, the power of compounding, meaning you don't pull any money out. First month you make 400 bucks from it. Next month you make 440. You just leave it in there. If you can do that 60 times or once a month for 5 years, you'd have $1.2 million. And so the real question is, if the math is irrefutable, you can't debate the math. That's what it comes out to. The next question then becomes, or what everyone should be asking is, okay, well, how do I find one trade a month that generates 10%? And then what strategy to use? And so we use options, which is you can control stocks for a cheaper price, but get a higher return off of it. And that's how you can get that 10% a month. So now you got the strategy, use call and put options. Then you have to ask the next question. Well, how do I know which stocks to trade and which ones to invest in and which call and put option to buy? Those are the right questions, because as you keep asking those questions, you start to develop what we call the 5-year millionaire blueprint. And once you have the answer to that, you know how to find the right stock, you know how to apply the right option strategy, and then you know what to look for to correct it or protect yourself if it goes wrong. The next key is just being disciplined enough to execute it over 5 years or over 60 trades. And so that is the name of the game. And everyone has the potential. I can't say you will be a millionaire, but you have the potential to earn $1.2 million. And then I like to tell people this, think about it. 5 years is about the same time to take to get a college degree, except most people come out with $50,000 to $100,000 in debt. You could come out with possibly $1.2 million. And then even if it took you 10 years to do it, most people work for 40 years and still never get there. And so that's what I love about the 5-year millionaire blueprint is it don't matter if you feel like you started late in life, you enter in retirement age and you're looking for something. It's like, if you give me 5 years, we can definitely get you on a really expedited path to potentially get into that millionaire status. And when you understand money, you got to understand, if $1 million is the only thing standing between you and financial freedom, it's like that's what's stopping you from living the life that you deserve. Because think about it like this. If you have $1 million and you just earn 10% a year, forget 10% a month off of it, 10% a year, that's $120,000 a year. That is not a bad life. You're not buying private planes and helicopters, but $120,000, even if you have to be in the 25% tax bracket, right? That still leaves you with about 85,000 net cash that you can spend, $90,000 that you can spend net cash, which means you're making about $8,000 that you can spend every single month. You can get $1,000 car note, $3,000 house. That's $4,000. You still have $4,000 left over for insurance, food, travel, putting $1,000 away for retirement. I mean, so when you think about it like that, you're like, if I can buckle down, get to the $1.2 million in 5 years, 10 years, now I can move it into something super safe or just something basic. And if I can earn 10% a year, I get $120,000, roughly 85, 90,000 to spend. I'm free for the rest of my life as long as I live roughly at that level. And that's not a bad level to live at. So for me, I'm like, how do I get $1 million then? Because that's the freedom number. If I could get to $1 million cash that's producing at least 10% a year, let alone some years where it does better, that's like the freedom number. And so once you understand that, you really will put in the work and do what it takes to learn, practice, and start this journey, because the quicker you start it, the sooner you can get to freedom.
Well, I like how it's simple math, like you said. It's
It's
literally
simple math.
just X, Y, and Z now. But I will hear people, at least this is what I'm kind of thinking. Well, I don't know what to trade, what stocks to trade. Now, setting up the accounts and everything, okay, that's not that hard, but you can figure that out. But how do I make sure I don't lose that $4,000? And how do I make sure that I gain that 10% a month?
Yeah. So those are unique words to use when it comes to investing, because I would never come on here and say, I can make sure you never lose the $4,000. Make sure you gain every single month. That's the wrong mindset when it comes to investing, because anybody who comes on and tells you they can guarantee you'll be a millionaire, I can guarantee every trade I pick is a winner. I would run the opposite way because they're probably selling snake oil. Here's what I can guarantee. I can guarantee I can show you the low risk, high reward time to place the trade, to invest in the stock. That still doesn't guarantee something, Trump won't send a tweet or throw another tariff and send the market down. But I can tell you the low risk time to apply the strategy. No different than real estate. There's different risk calculations, and the property should be worth this. I can tell you you shouldn't pay any more than this for that property. It's the same thing with stocks. I can tell you roughly you should be looking to pay about this for that company. And so once you understand that, and then there's things you can do to protect your account. Most people don't know that there's things like put options, which is just like insurance for your brokerage account. The same way that you insure your car or your home, you can actually insure your brokerage account. So you can buy a put option if you have a $4,000 account. You could buy a put option that says I won't lose anything below $3,000. So if you lose 1,000, when you get down to 3,000, that put option kicks in, and you can't lose any more money below that once if the stock or the stock market continues to sell off. Those are the things that people are just not taught. They're just taught buy low, hopefully sell high, but then they're like, I don't know how to buy low and what to buy low. Number one. Number two, most people, when it goes low, they either panic and sell, or their financial advisor says, don't worry, it'll come back. You're in this for the long term. And so there's this boredom with investing. I'm just going to stick money in this black hole. I don't really know how it works. I got to hope it's there in 40 years. And I think that's why more people aren't active with their investments, because they don't know that they can compress the time to 5 years, become potentially a millionaire. They also don't know that they can safely do it by buying insurance on it the same way they buy insurance on a car or a house. But when it comes to their investments, they have no idea that they can do these things. So it keeps people, the fear keeps people out of the stock market. And then you might say, well, Jason Brown, how come nobody's teaching this? Well, you got to think about it. Who's going to teach you it? Your financial advisor doesn't want to teach you it, because if he teaches you it, guess what? You don't need him. Well, he needs you to need him because he makes 2 to 3% off your account. So why would he teach you it? Okay, the banks aren't going to teach you it. Well, why aren't the banks going to teach you it, Jason Brown? Well, you got to understand the bank's business model. I want you to put your money in my bank. I may give you 2% interest rate. I may give you 5% on the CD if you leave it with us for 5 years. Okay. But our goal is to have you deposit money to us, and we go loan it to other people and get 50%. This is a true story, or this is a true fact. If you take the current interest rate, which is 6 to 7%, if you take any house and you amortize your payments over 30 years, a $200,000 house, if you pay the monthly payments for 30 years, you will pay $400,000 for a $200,000 house. So the bank is in the business of people depositing money. They can loan out $1 for $9 for every $1 you put in their bank. And they loan it out to people to go buy houses and cars at high interest rates where they make double the money back. They're making 50% on their money. So why would they teach you how to invest and how to protect your account? They want you to be afraid of the stock market. Just come put it in here in the safe bank. We're FDIC insured. They're not talking about put options, call options, how to grow it in 5 years. So if you really think about it, you're only left with people like me, people who wrote a book, people who YouTube about it. And I think sometimes the problem with that is people are like, well, how come the bank's not teaching me my financial advisor, but how come you, random dude, is teaching me? It's because we got two different incentives. I don't want to manage your money. I don't want you to deposit the money with me because I'm not loaning it out to people. I want you to buy my course, and I don't have a problem saying that. I sell a program, I sell a course, I teach people. I want you to become a member where I send out the text alerts. That is my incentive, and I'm not going to apologize for sharing my knowledge and believing I should get paid for it. I got to pay for cameras, streaming. I got to pay for software and all this stuff to send you this information. I should get compensated for
Well,
that.
your time too. I mean, you got a wife and kids. I mean, it's just giving away your free time.
Absolutely, right? I mean, you got a wife, you got kids, you got other stuff you could be doing. I could just cut the camera off and just invest myself. But my point is, I'm just trying to draw people the distinct difference between why a random person like me would teach this, and why your bank, why your financial advisor is not incentivized to tell you how this stuff works.
So
Because I want people to leave this episode thinking different. Whether they do master passive income, they come over to the Brown Report, I just want them leaving thinking different. Like, he has a point. they have a different interest. So they're going to teach something different, and they're also going to pump fear into you a different way. Because if they can steer you to do what they need you to do, which is deposit money in the bank or turn it over to your financial manager so you can just stick it in a random mutual fund and earn us 3%. And I'm not knocking financial managers. Every person has a place. There are people who just don't care to learn this, don't want to handle it. That's a good option. Just turn it over to someone licensed who has a fiduciary responsibility. But that is not a game plan for getting rich, and it's not a game plan for becoming a millionaire, and definitely not in 5 years.
So with your, because you mentioned a couple of things that really ring a bell with me, because if I'm going to be doing stocks, like I said, I am so bad at it. And I've tried to learn. I'm just not good at it. It's just the way it is. And so somebody listening to this is like, hey, I come to Dustin listen to for real estate, but man, I really like this Jason guy. He talks about giving out trade signals or like, hey, this is what we're trading. How does that work out with the program that you have lots and lots of members in? In fact, Master Passive Income with the coaching, I just, you and I were chatting and you said, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm getting lots of success for my students. And I said, this sounds fantastic. This is what I want to do. And it's how I geared up a lot of Master Passive Income with the coaching and the membership and all that sort of stuff. But you also give them like trade signals. You tell them, hey, this is what we're doing. Talk about how you help your students actually make these trades.
So the first thing is to understand is that I'm investing my own money. So like I said, I have a different interest from your financial advisor because I'm not licensed, so I can't invest your money. I'm investing my own money. The good news is the market is so big, it doesn't cost me any, like, it's not like real estate. There's only one house and we're all bidding on it. I don't have enough money to buy Apple, all the Apple stock. I don't have enough money to buy all the Amazon stock. None of us do have enough money to buy all the Tesla stock. So I just share what I'm doing with my members, what I'm finding, what I'm researching, why I think this is a good time to buy, how much I'm buying, why I'm buying. And so I'm actually growing my own account. And at the same time, I'm just walking you through my process. I'm sharing what I'm doing. And so, we started this by saying most people don't have the money, they don't have the resources or the time. You're borrowing my time because I now have the time to look at stocks all day. I have the time to research it. I'm looking through the news, I'm looking at the charts, and I'm deciphering all that data and deciding what I'm going to do. And then I'm kind of handing it to my members on a silver platter. It's like this how it works. But we also have our courses so that you actually understand what I'm handing you, because I don't want to just hand you, it's kind of like a car, right? If you hand it to a kid without sending them to driver's training and teaching them the responsibility of it, it become a weapon. It can become a missile. It can become deadly. And so we don't just send trade alerts out and then people don't know how to get in and how to get out, but we literally walk you through live the process, why we're doing it, why we're thinking about this. And then you can ask questions as well. And then if you can attend live, we send out an email or a text alert with the highlights and you can watch the replay, stuff like that. But I'm personally managing my own money and I'm sharing in a transparent way the stocks I'm looking at, what I'm buying, what I'm seeing, and everything's timestamped. So what I love about it is you can fact check me. You can go back to, I've been doing this for a while. You can go back years into the archives. Like, what did he say about this stock? Like, oh my God, he was right. And then you can see it. I was wrong about some stuff too, right? I'm not here to pretend I'm a trading god. But we do well. We do well. And we do well by our members. And people always say like, how good are you? Or, do people make money off your trade? I said, well, we'd be out of business if they didn't. I mean, everybody would cancel, right? So, I mean, the program is self-governing. Nobody would pay or renew if they weren't learning some or making some money. So we're still in business. So you take that for what it is.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, so you're going to find on, especially on social media, not necessarily YouTube. YouTube's a little better at weeding out quote unquote gurus or people that are just fly by night. They're selling just courses. Social media is so much worse. Like people, like especially real estate. Oh my goodness, people coming on in 2021. Oh, I bought two Airbnbs, spent like 150,000 or like maybe even more than that. It's like $500,000 per property, and now I'm making 10 grand a month. Come follow me, I'll teach you how to do it. I'm like, That's in the great times. Like this was a run up, and I started investing back in 2006. I'm an investor. That's what I do. I'm just here helping, just like you. It's like you're an investor in stocks and fine and all the stocks, options and all that sort of stuff. I'm an investor in real estate, and so I'm just sharing this to you. But here's also I want to piggyback up. You were sharing like why you share this stuff. Well, what the reason why I share this, and I know you're the same way, because like I said from the very beginning, you have an abundance mindset. You're like, how can I serve other people? I get so much more fulfilled when my students do well, when they buy their first property, when they become financially independent. Like I feel fulfilled. When I bought my first property, it was an accomplishment, but I felt like I needed another accomplishment after that. I need more and more and more. Quit my job. Great. Another, I need more accomplishments. But now it's like, now I feel fulfilled when somebody gets what they want. I help them get what they most want in life, which is real estate and investing in that. Now, with you helping, can you share like they got to go to the Brown Report? Is that the best way to find you? Is that the best way to connect with you and also finding your book?
Yeah, it's the easiest way. I mean, the Brown Report has access to my socials, my LinkedIn, the book 5 Year Millionaires. There, everything is at thebrownreport.com.
What about your podcast, the 5 Year Millionaire podcast?
Yeah, it's at the Brown Report.
And
Everything is on that one page.
and YouTube as well. Did we look up Brown Report on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm the Brown Report everywhere, but if you can only remember one thing, just go to brownreport.com and then you can spider out to all the other places: YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook.
Man,
Uh,
Jason, so this is like really, I'm really excited to bring you on. And the reason why, like I said, from the very beginning, the only conferences I ever went to before the very first conference for my own personal business, where I met you, all the other business or sorry, conferences I ever went to was for my work. I work for the government too. So it was so boring, so horrible. And the people there, I didn't want to talk to anybody because they were government employees. We don't have the same mindset. Like they're like just get their pension and all. I was like, get me out of here. But I go to my first event, first conference, first breakout session that I go to. I sit down at the table and you're right next to me. And we just started hitting it off. We started chatting. But then fast forward from there, you and I, like our business has grown and grown and grown. I'm just looking like, man, this is what Jason's doing. I better follow him and take the lead. Same thing with stocks, same thing with real estate investing. You find somebody that's doing it and you say, hey, I really like this person, like how they say it, what they say, and they sound like they really want to help. You start getting behind that person and start working with them. So I personally hope that people grab your book. Definitely go to Amazon, check out Jason Brown, the 5 Year Millionaire. You definitely need to get that book, but also check out his YouTube channel. So much amazing searchable information on there. You like how do I do this in stocks? How do I do this with put options? But he's got that there, but at the same time, he's going to be coaching through the process. So Jason, dude, I gotta say thank you so much for all that you've ever done. And you might not have done a like held my hand every single step of the way, but if you had not reached out to me that first conference that I went to and said, hey, you got to meet, and then we hung out like 3 days, the whole 3 days. Me, you, and Tom, we just had a great time, all talking business together. That got me down the process of realizing what I need to do, how I need to serve people, and this is where I'm at today. So definitely give all the thanks to you, man.
I appreciate that, and it's super humbling because growing up young, black in Detroit, like there were so many circles and things that I was counted out of. And so when I see somebody on the quote unquote outside, because we were on the inside, I knew Tom, I knew a bunch of people there. I'm like, I know what it's like to be on the outside and go to a conference and feel like the cool kids are hanging out. They don't invite you in. And I'm like, no, I'm going to reach out and bring people into the circle and not be a cool kid. And I was like, if I learn how the stock market works or internet marketing, I'm not going to hold it to my chest and give BS answers on podcasts. I'm going to tell you how it really works. Because I sat in those seats and I wish somebody, I know sometimes when people gave a real nugget, I was like, thank you. I needed a real nugget. And I could also tell when people gave me fluff and I was just like, come on, man. Like I'm starving for some information and you just gave me some, just keep at it. You'll get there. And I'm like, give me something tangible. And so I'm just so happy to see that our connection and pulling you on the inside has led to, I mean, you having your own Rubicon and your own thing that you're doing. And I just hope you pull somebody, and I hope someone at your conference that sees somebody sitting in the corner, just like, come roll with us, come to lunch with us. They might not be the cool kid now, but you never know who that person could be with a little bit of encouragement and inviting them into the quote unquote inner circle. So let's just keep paying it forward, man.
And you being a Christ follower like myself, we know Christ says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so I've been in the room where it's
Absolutely.
like I didn't know anybody and then I wish somebody, but then I'm at the same time, I'm in the room where I know everybody and I see somebody over there too. And I'm like, you know what? That person, if I were in his or her shoes, I would wish somebody, let me go do that. That's what we got to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome, Jason. Hey, thank you so much. You and I can chat forever. I know that we have so much in common, but at the same time, we love helping people. So definitely, everybody check out the book, 5 Year Millionaire, podcast, YouTube, social media, all that stuff. Jason, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me. And I'm gonna see you in a few weeks, brother.
Let's do it.